Vanilla or chocolate.
Water. Everyone seconds of your day, now you're allergic to the 1%. But it's go by. No, bro, you produce H2O in the screen. Sorry, I didn't. Oh yeah. Wow. That's a cool. Oh, I really like that. That's a free. Call this meeting to order at 4:07 p.m. Okay. We'll leave you roll call. Here. Here. Joel. Here. Ted. Second. We're in two. Here. 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 Nicholas. Matthew. Here.
That's Ella. Here. Eddie. Don't do it. I think it's all.
Here. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes of May 15th, 2024?
I move to approve the minutes of May 15th, 2024.
Anybody second? Second. Any objections? Any corrections? Before it's approved? So move back. And are there any objections? Approval, please. Wait, why does it say May 15th of the agenda? Yeah. I guess that's my direction. Yeah, that's just wait. Before we do that, can I get a motion to approve the minutes of May 29th, 2024?
I move to approve the minutes of May 29th, 2024.
Does anybody second? Okay. Are there any corrections to be made? No corrections? Are there any objections? No objections, so moved by Javier, seconded by. Are there any public comments? No public comments. Are there any advisor announcements? Are there any advisor announcements via Zoom?
Dennis, do you? Well, if I could just say, it's kind of a mess right now with the budget. So, if you haven't already, for spring or winter or fall, submitted your reimbursements, please do so as soon as possible. All further expenses for de-stress are not coming from the DSG account because we need to make sure there's enough for what we have left. From my understanding, I know y'all did a great job with tracking y'all's expenses, and it might not have been communicated that all the meals that you paid for during elections also come from that account. Elections, other election reimbursements, I believe, also come from that account. So it was a couple days ago that y'all got a little surprised that you had less than you thought. We can work on that for next year to hopefully lessen the stress. The college life programming account can be used for de-stress. That doesn't mean go to wild, because you still need to process those receipts to make sure that they are manageable. But we're working with programs on that, so de-stress will still happen. But please submit your stuff. They're going through it, and student count right now because of how many last minute things they're getting. Is there anything to add to that? Dennis?
Nothing about budget. Anything else that you?
Well, I'm just gonna say, I'm gonna have to leave early. I'm probably gonna have to be in the Zoom until about 5, and then have to catch a flight. I'll be representing our office at the Seesaw Professional Development Conference in LA. I gotta go, but I do just wanna say thank you all, those who served this past year. It's been wonderful working with you. Every year gets more and more engaged and active. Y'all are super ambitious this year. Sometimes it was a bit stressful, but it paid off a lot this year. I'm very proud of everything that came out of DASG. And then to folks working, will be starting next year. I look forward to getting your training packets soon, because they're due on Friday. But I'm very much looking forward to working with you all as well. For those leaving, I'm super bummed I can't make it to Lavender Grad because I usually volunteer there. But anyone participating in next graduation or May commencement, Dana and I will be coordinating some volunteers there. So you'll see some of you there. I will still be here next week for de-stress and so on. But just since I can't really be here for the rest of the meeting, I just want to say thank you all. Been lovely, but I'll be in this week. And
Have fun, Martha, have safe travel. I just want to, again, reiterate what she said, in terms of, I mean, I guess we can wait until the very end of the, meeting, which is so fantastic. Senate this year, Amir, you were wonderful. Trustee, we have a couple updates about the spring and winter quarter, compensations for the current sitting senators, so. James, did you say you already made an announcement about that? Oh, no, okay. Sorry, I just came in. So for the winter quarter, we apologize profusely about the lateness of it. But we do understand that it has been processed, so it should be showing up in your accounts very soon. And then for the spring one, and actually Malia and Dennis don't know this yet because I just had this conversation with Lydia. Because of the lateness of that, and we don't repeat a late, we want to make sure that that money gets into your hands. I know many of you are transferring, and we'll make sure that you get that money into your account before you leave. We are gonna not do the survey, okay? So you don't all have to do the survey. It's the survey that you have to take at the end of the quarter to tell us, you know, whether or not you met this condition or that condition. And so what we're gonna do is we're just gonna be looking at your meetings and your office hours, okay? So if you have any deduction from spring quarters compensation, that's where the deductions are gonna come from. Everything else, we're gonna give to you full as a kind of a thank you, but also we know you all work incredibly hard all year long. Including this quarter, so the only deductions we're gonna make is if you missed any of your office hours or any of the meetings, because that is reported, so we can easily deduct from there. All the other subjective stuff, we're just gonna give it to you all, okay? Any questions? No? Okay, so hopefully those will be processed and you'll get 2 paychecks in the next couple of weeks, okay?
Or deposits in your account. We're still waiting to hear back about exactly what will happen for spring awards for people that are no longer going to final. But we did hear from financial aids that the winter awards are now processed, so I'm hoping that means that it's in your accounts now, or if not, hopefully in a day or two. But other than that, I think that's it for those scholarships. And we will be working over the summer to make things work a lot quicker. And also, we'll be, this doesn't affect these two directly, but we will be also incorporating, the ICT and mentors and all that to make sure everything works smoothly. The officers, and some of the executive officers, and I think some of the internal officers that we're going to be updating the account access, email addresses. Just didn't want to do it until after somebody in, so that we still had access to the inboxes. Things are going to change for the new accounts, but nothing to worry about as far as email at least. So I'll get you guys that information. Probably tomorrow, at least the instructions for how to log in. If it's not already set up by then, I'll just send you another message soon after saying, okay, it's ready for you to log into it. But the instructions are the right, hopefully with the new way ETS is doing that. Also, thank you to everyone. More answers later, but thank you to everyone who's hard work this year and we look forward to it.
Sorry, real quick thing. Those curly fries look really good, by the way. Somebody left this.
That's mine.
It is yours. All right, there you go. And thank you, Luca Mar, for educating last week's event. We actually had really great feedback and they said that you two did an awesome job. So thank you.
Are there any other advisor announcements via Zoom? Okay, are there any Senate announcements?
This is for any current senator or executive that is transferring. Marketing is planning on doing some transfer posts as well, announcing where we're all going. So I will put in Senate chat right now, a Google form where we're asking for your name, your major, where you're transferring from, and then a transfer quote, which is basically like a senior quote in high school. Make sure it's appropriate, because this is on the DASG Instagram. Shouldn't take too long. Please do it by tonight.
Are there any other Senate announcements?
Press week is happening next week on Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday from 12 to 2 p.m. We need volunteers to help out with the event, and I'm gonna put it in the Senate chat right now. So if you're available, please sign up.
I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that went to support Iris on Monday. Let's see, and if you have any questions regarding the board or anything on the district level, contact her. She will still be meeting with the board over the summer. Are there any other Senate announcements?
So we have leftover snacks and drinks from our programs meeting yesterday, so feel free to grab some over there under that.
Are there any other Senate announcements? Okay, are there any student trustee announcements?
Oh, sorry. At the board of trustees, Catherine Cook and Tyler Owen received the trustee scholarship. And we have a new contractor for the Recruiting Farmers Market, which is Pacific Coast Farmers Market Association. And we have a potential 12 to 13 million budget allocated to upgrading and renovating our IT physical infrastructure. And we're also looking into setting up parameters of about 400K from the vice chancellor position to more class sections. And we also have a town hall and higher education forum to happen on June 20th at the impact here from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. with speakers Congressman Bill Kana and Trustee Patrick Aaron's. And we also recognize the contributions of classified staff in the district. And from SRG, we're in the planning and design phase of the general obligation plan program. And lastly, parking fees will continue to be waived through spring 2025. And all costs that are normally received from the parking fee will be continued to be covered by the general.
Are there any external shared governance committee reports?
The County Senate met this past Monday, and we just went over the annual governance survey and the summer cabinet option. We went over the proposed default filter plan. And then I guess the main thing was, and this was a really long discussion, but it was a discussion on the GE proposal that's going on. So I added a few links from the agenda, but I believe Catherine from the curriculum committee can speak to us about it previously. So if you did feel strongly about anything, if you had any questions or like things you wanted me to bring up, do let me know, because next Monday is the last academic senate meeting. So, yeah.
Guided Pathways met yesterday and they elected 3 new team members, which makes a total of 95 total employees sitting on Guided Pathways. Did a lot of reflection over the events that they had this year. A lot of big events such as the language cafe and business competition went really well. Student use for villages was about 10,000 students throughout the entire academic year, with an additional about 5,000 from students who didn't sign in. They're also looking into applying more student ambassador and interns. If you are, this is just for anybody here, if you want to be a student ambassador or intern next year, contact them via the website, I believe. They're also looking for village volunteers. And lastly, they are looking at more sustainability initiatives, as well as a new tracking times and duties, which is a new system for tracking time and duties to help create comprehensive job descriptions. And lastly, they are looking at changing the way that Kansas students select their village for the next year using a software where students, instead of being placed into a village, they get to choose the village and then they choose a major that applies to. That's it.
Are there any other external shared governance committee reports?
Wrapped up yesterday and we're reviewing the position hiring process and just going over the recommendations.
Anyone else? Moving on, are there any internal DHG committee reports?
Programs met yesterday, I was enjoying stress. Other big method, yes.
Any other internal DHG committee reports?
Yeah, marketing met last Thursday, we just talked about pretty much wrapping up the year, and we tried to make a budget request, but I got denied, so unfortunate. But other than that, yeah, thanks to everyone who showed up for marketing, thank you to our interns and their senators.
Anybody else? Yeah.
SRE met today and we passed our bylaws and talked about diversity. People also be discussing.
Any other internal DHG committee reports? Okay. Can I get a motion to approve the consent calendar for today?
And we need to approve it.
Javier? Are there any objections? There's nothing on consent calendar. Okay, moving on. Business item 1, the April to May 2024 checks of 500 or greater. I'd like to have Lisa Kirk present this item. Discuss that.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? I'm driving, so I'm not sure if you can y'all hear me okay?
Now we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, so this is just to answer any questions that you have. There's the list of checks that we need to present to the Senate that our office processed that were $500 or greater. So I will see you again, the new Senate, in October with the list for June through September. But for right now, this is just April through May. So are there any questions? Okay, no questions, then I will see you all in the fall. And as Maritza said, please turn in your requests if you haven't done so already. And I encourage all the new senators continuing into the next fiscal year to turn in your request quarterly, if we could do that. So we're still seeing reimbursement requests from winter and even last fall, as well as spring. So, and our fiscal year end is June 30th. So it's really important that we get everything processed. And it's a lot coming in right now. I just want to thank everyone who served on the Senate this past year. It's been a pleasure working with all of you. And Isaac, if you're at this meeting, please sign one last time. You have some things in your Adobe Sign. And then I think Dennis will change that over to Edita, right? So thank you all, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you. Somebody in the chat mentioned that they had something they wanted to say about, but they didn't know I need to use it, so I let them know. We under public comments, and then we can just go back real quick to let them speak. Salvador Escobedo, do you have your public comment? I think you have up to 2 minutes. Salvador Escobedo. You said yes in the chat. Can you, are you able to, verbalize it, or will you be posting it in the chat?
Can anyone hear me okay?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can.
Okay, just quick small thing, well, I'm not sure if it's small, but we'll see. I'm part of, I'm taking calculus 1B right now, online. And I'm not sure if anyone is aware, but when registration opened, there was only one C class available for the summer. That's fine, but the problem is that me and a number of other students have had issues. It got filled up instantly. By like 10 a.m., it was completely filled all the way up to the wait list. It was completely gone. And now the problem that we have is we've been emailing professor, we've been emailing the math chair. Sorry, I'm in the middle of something, and we've been wondering, any transparency is another one coming? I have a petition that has over 18 signatures. Official, it's all sealed and documented. And we just want, some transparency, like, is another one coming? Is there not going to be one? That sort of thing. But that's just kind of the basis of what this is. Sorry, I'm just kind of in the middle of something, but that's kind of essentially it. We want to know if another one for the summer session is coming. That's purely online. A lot of people have summer internships. A lot of people are not local to the area. And yeah, we just kind of want to know, for transparency's sake, even if there isn't going to be one, we want to know if that's the case, because we've been completely ghosted by everyone involved. The math chair, some people have emailed the dean, nothing come of it. We've emailed other math professors, nobody said anything. And, that's just the situation. So hopefully, if someone wants the link to it, if someone wants the PDF with all the signatures, it's available. Just, give me an email to send it to, and it'll be there. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can send it to, I guess, DASG president at fhca.edu.
Yeah, sure. What's the email again?
I'll put it in the chat for you as well. DASG president.
Okay. Yeah, it's completely, the email is completely drafted, the PDF with all the signatures on it. I'll just send it to you immediately.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on to business item 2, this is a funding request for the Seesaw Conference. And it's to discuss the possibility to approve $15,000 in additional funding to get more students or more next year's senators to the conference.
And then if needed, because the first part of the item is to discuss and select attendees. Last week, just about everyone that was here from next year's Senate raised their hand, so we need to figure out what to do with this. It's early in October or mid-October, so we need to get everything sorted during the summer.
If I could have Youngsu come up and present.
I'll just stand here. So 2 weeks ago, when we had our last Senate meeting, we did ask for raise of hands these are for not the current senators. Your term is almost over here in the next hour. But for the incoming Senate, this is for the leadership conference, the Seesaw Student Leadership Conference, that weekend of October 11th, 11th, 12th, and 13th. We leave on a Friday, come back on a Sunday. So if you are interested in going to that conference, what we are proposing is that we're going to double the amount so that we can take more of you. That will cover the cost of travel. We're going to have to fly because it's down in Southern California this year, your food, your registration. So if in whatever fund and rooms, yeah, hotel rooms. So we're just asking to double the allocation, and that way we can cover more of you to go. And of course, any money funds that we don't use, it just goes back into the general pot. So I think what you all have to decide is, I can't read it, sorry, mine.
It says, this item is to discuss and select conference attendees and possibly approve up to 15,000 in additional funding.
Right.
The seesaw.
Because right now we already have 15,000 to take about 10 students, including myself and Malia. Malia has also expressed interest in going as an advisor. So I'm gonna start writing names here because we do need to know who will in fact will be going. So I know Luca. Just so we can, everybody can see. So, okay, and then Malia's taking notes on this too. All right, Aura, you were gonna go too, right? This is the Seesaw Student Leadership Conference in October, okay. Look on your calendars, okay, because we're gonna be reaching out to you in the next, hopefully in the next month to confirm everything, but look on your calendars, make sure you are available October 11th, 12th, and 13th, am I right?
I'll double check.
Those the dates, it's whatever that Friday is. So you do have to be available all day Friday, all day Saturday, and then we come back Sunday. Registration typically begins around noon that Friday, and then they start off with like a keynote, kind of dinner kind of thing. There might be some other stuff beforehand, but we need to make sure we get down there, and since we're flying, if they're report in advance, and we'll take care of all the other details later, but so if have you all registered for your fall classes yet? No,
That's
when does that happen? That happens in July. Oh, gosh. Okay, so if you've signed up and then you have to take a class on a Friday, you need to make those arrangements, or you need to let us know right away, like, hey, can't go anymore. But once we make the flight arrangements, then you will be held responsible for paying us back if you cannot go. Okay, we're hoping to purchase the flights probably this summer while all the, Southwest has a deal. So, okay.
And yes, the dates are Friday, October 11th, to Sunday, October 13th.
Okay, so look on your calendars, make sure it isn't your birthday weekend or somebody else's birthday weekend, and your friends gonna be mad if you're not around that weekend, okay? So can we start from over here? Raise your hand if you want to go. No, not the current senators, all just the new incoming folks. Oh, we're, okay, all right. Yeah, can you, okay, let's just do that one by one, because I don't know everybody's name, so. All right, so let's go ahead and just move on, so we're not taking up too much time. But let's go ahead, does anybody want a motion?
A motion to approve up to $15,000 in additional funding.
I second.
Are there any objections? No. The motion passes. Motion by Richie, seconded by. Wait.
Can I just make a clarification then that this will come from the 24-25 special allocations? Please, let's.
Yes, that is correct. I'll make sure they say that in the motion. What's up? Yeah, just come up. But there don't come up. I mean,
So the motion was, there was a second, but then there's an objection here, so.
So the motion was to approve $15,000. Just for clarification, that will be, we'll record it this way, but it's $15,000 from 2024 to 2025 special allocation. So there was an objection, so I guess we'll need to do a vote. Yeah, if there's, of course. I mean, there's tax credit next year. Yeah.
So go ahead. Okay.
Yeah, is there?
Okay, can we discuss this item?
I wanted to ask why did the objection?
It's just double, we allocated this last year.
Okay.
And I don't look back at the conference is worth doubling it. And even though so many people want to go, I just
it's a lot, and we really had issues like dealing with our like budget this year, and. And even though like so many people won't go, it's totally valid. It's just not, we shouldn't be allocating so much to it. We should be like using it for better stuff. Really the better stuff we should. I went to it and I don't think it was that valuable in terms of the senator, and I'm just being blaming her. And I'm sure a lot of other senators that went will agree that wasn't that valuable. So if anyone who went wants to communicate on that. Yeah, because it's double that. It's like, yeah, it's basically people.
Well, just a comment about this year versus next year, so, the next year, whatever you guys decide, will cost more than this year, so we can't do apples and oranges, it's always, switches from North California to South California, so this year was in the north, next year's in the south, so next year will cost more, just for transportation alone. So there is that, so you can't just say 1 year and the next, because it's always going to change each year. And then as far as, whether you think it's valuable, I guess that's up to all the senators that went to speak on that part. But whatever is left over, we'll just go right back to special allocations anyway.
I'll just add on, I'll just kind of disagree with what Aaron was saying. I think, I don't want to influence obviously the people who really want to go, but I will say that it's what you make of it, right? If you don't feel like it's valuable, then probably you can make it. Maybe it's because you didn't take too much out of it, right? And obviously it shouldn't offend you, but it's what you make of it. So I think it's up to the future senators to decide if they want to go. And yeah, that's pretty much it.
Again, and I think to add on to the vision point, I mean, just because like we did the city see the benefit, doesn't mean that we should give up the opportunity for next year. Like we should have opportunity to do it if they want to.
I don't feel like we're taking away the opportunity, definitely like, still like 30,000 a lot, we can do 20,000 for the extra added cost of travel. But I don't think we should be increasing the number of people, because that's a lot of people, and we had like what, 10 this time, so we shouldn't be looking at 20. I think 10 is still reasonable.
I actually remember something right now. So first of all, like they've mentioned, we don't have to use all $30,000. Second of all, remember when we went to the CISA conference and we had 4 people in one room? And we asked Dennis to get us a separate room, right? It would have been nice to kind of have that much money, like that $10,000 allocated as well. So I think that kind of counters the question. That's pretty much it. That's all I just wanted.
Well, I guess I will say that it's better to make sure there's enough money to cover everything. And then, whatever's left over can just go right back to the 24.5 special allocation. It's also early in the year, so it's not like it's gonna sit unused more than 2 quarters before going back.
I support it. Just, I know it's something special allocation, right? How much would the special allocation change? If we.
Here. It's, I can look for good, this is even without the position for, the money for here, that's still. So. It's going to,
The funding for last year was also different now.
I'm not
But I-
sure. I
yeah.
don't think it was that much, but this is also the only conference we actually spend money on to send all of you. Other than the legislative affairs person, and you might send a couple in our trustee. There are no other conferences that we've allocated money to send you to. I see hands here, but I just want to make sure, did we capture everybody's name? So is your name on here if you want to go? Because anybody else? Okay, thank you. And Malia, did you capture this? Or do you have me to write? Okay, I will not.
Also really quick, can I get a motion to extend discussion? Isaac, motion to extend by 10 minutes. Anybody second?
I said,
Any objections? Motion by Isaac, seconded by Adam to extend by 10 minutes. Stephen?
Yeah, I'd just like to say, I think we probably should approve it, because I don't think it's fair to say, pick and choose who gets to go, who doesn't get to go. If there's that many people who really do want to go, then I feel like they should all get the chance to. Because these conferences can be a lot of fun, they can be good leadership opportunities. And, you know, we are at a community college and we want to have the best college experience that we can. And going on these kinds of trips, like, it's a pretty special thing, it's a big book, so I feel like we should let everybody who wants to go, go. Otherwise, some people will be like, oh, I wish I could have gone, and we'll have to like step down to let other people go, and that's just a sad situation to put people in, when there are this many people who have expressed the desire to go.
I'm also curious to hear from any other senators that did go and their thoughts on the conference. Chris?
I can speak briefly about like why we should have more. Senators go. I personally got a lot of great information from other colleges in the area as well too. I took it as a great networking and outreach opportunity to speak with other representatives of other colleges in the area. And also they learned things from us as well at the end of college. Like I specifically remember talking to certain community colleges about how we get paid and most colleges do not do that. Also talking about our structure and how it's done so that way it's very organized. And I also learned things from those colleges, how to improve our outreach to student bodies, how to be more cooperative when we're talking to advisors or counselors. So by having more senators there, we could improve our outreach and possibly learn a thing or two about how to better our own student government.
And yeah, I wanted to also add to the workshops that we went there for, and a lot of them kind of taught me a lot of stuff that we don't really, I know that during our training sessions, we actually have someone speak about the Brown Act and stuff, but it was pretty interesting to learn from the people who were conducting the workshops, and there are a lot of stuff that I learned that we do have some inaccuracies in Senate about, so it's kind of interesting to learn about that. And also of advocacy, if you are really interested in that at a larger level, so I think that's definitely beneficial.
Yeah, I just want to add to what Chris and Bruce were just saying, because like I personally didn't go to CSAW, but I'm a student trustee. I was tasked to go to several different other conferences all across the state and even in Washington DC, right? Then like I ended up meeting people from all across the state and country. And this experience was really beneficial, like Bridgie and Chris just said, like you get to learn more about what the other colleges are doing, what we can do as an institution to better ourselves. Let's see. I remember that I was meeting with Las Positas College student trustee, and his meetings for his ASG weren't being recorded. So he literally like came to us and then like try to get a better understanding of how our board of trustees actually reports the meeting, so he gets the report over to his district and stuff. Like you'll probably find some other situations like that, in when you end up going to CSAW, meeting other people in the other HGs and stuff. It's really beneficial experience and also really memorable one as well, because like yeah.
Any other? Yeah. Even senators are like outside of Senate is allowed to make comment, right? Yeah.
I want to respond to Aaron's point of view. I agree that 15,000 is a lot, but I also want to add that I understand Aaron's point of view because there's not everyone will be like risk and royalty can take from the conference the most, right? But we can also encourage them to take from it by imposing the responsibility for using the fund. So we can ask them to like make the testimonials, what you love, what you take away from it. And if they didn't participate in the conference seriously, we can reduce the fund for next year, but we cannot repeat ultimately because of just some individual. So I think we can just let them go, but also remind them that 15,000 can help, and the opportunity cost is really big, and they need to be responsible for using it. And we need to like check the testimonial to make sure this experience is valuable, and also use that experience for next year funding. So I agree that we should fund.
Right, can I ask what part of Silk House is in the Gracious Conference that you call that?
It's in LA, right? What part of Soap Houses?
Yeah, the LA.
Oh,
Aaron, do we have an estimate of how much travel costs will be to take those many people?
No, yeah, based on, what we've seen in the past, but we used, for flights anyway, we use Southwest Airlines as a, a reference point. So we used about 200 per person as an estimate when we were writing up the budget request. But that's, nothing definitive. We are also, but we haven't heard back yet exactly about, we are looking into whether, a charter bus may be a better option than getting however many flights we get. So we don't know yet. It could be flights or perhaps a charter bus. But, right now, all we can do is an estimate. We are looking into at least the price of a charter bus, and then once we know more, we're looking into the pricing for Southwest. But, today's price is different from right at London.
Is there any other input from any other senators?
I'm a fan of it.
Can I get a motion to approve the $15,000? There was.
There was a motion already, so there is now a motion, so, and who executive, and, just gonna do that, the motion needs to include from, so 15,000 from 2024.
So
I guess we, after that starting it, but just. Yeah, move by. Yeah. So move by.
moved by Baranchi, seconded by Chris. So we moved by Baranchi, seconded by Chris. To approve $15,000 for the Seesaw Conference from special allocations.
24-25.
24-25 special allocations. Are there any objections? No objections, so the motion passes.
Okay. Yeah, I already objected. Are we supposed to what?
Yeah, just.
Yeah, Aaron's ready with that.
Well, I don't know, okay, we can do that, it just seemed like there was discussion, and then you have to sort of objections again after discussion.
You can slow that.
No, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So we have to do it. Yeah. So the motion, yeah, approve 15,000 for next year's special obligation for the season. Or additional 15,000.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
You all just speak really loud, because for whatever reason, I can't hear back here. Have you? You got that? Oh, yeah.
No.
Yeah, for approve. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, Megan?
Yeah.
Yes.
Better? Let's read the good.
Yes.
Oh, good. Brandy?
Yeah.
Y'all ready?
Yes.
Chris?
Yes.
Aaron?
No.
Rhea? Yes.
Yes.
Donna? No. Jason? Nicholas? Kate? Nadia?
Yes.
Daniela?
Yes.
Eddie?
Yes.
Anish?
Yes.
Davin?
No.
Chuck? Yes.
Oh, Jason.
Jason?
He's not here.
So he's on, he's sick, so. It's a wow. Jason, are you there?
Yeah, him too, just in the chat.
Wait, you guys are calling me? Oh,
Oh, the other Jason.
oh,
Jason,
Let me reply.
yes.
Yes or no?
I can still vote even if you're not here.
Yeah, you kind of pay this along lines.
At least for now.
Jason,
Yeah, the motion is to approve an additional 15,000 from 2024-2025 special allocations for the Seesaw Conference, October 11 to 13.
Jason, you need to
Oh.
respond, yea or no?
oh, yes. I thought I can't vote if I'm online.
17 minutes and 5 minutes.
Motion passes. So we're very quickly, so we will be in contact with all of you, before we actually purchase the night tickets. So please, between, now and then, if something comes up, let us know, contact, Malia, so that we can make sure we have an accurate list, okay? Exciting, all right, thank you.
Okay, moving on to business item 3. This is a funding request for DeAnza enrollment service programs. And to discuss the possibility of $2,500 for enrollment services, including the Promise Program, Men of Color, ISPBA, and for study students to distribute food supplies and certificates. If I could have Izat, Adi, Nina, and Nazi come up to present this.
Nina and Casey, I believe is here. Yeah, Nottingham Native, but Nina and Casey are here online.
Hi. Yeah, Nazi couldn't make it today, so Casey and I are here. So basically, we are asking for funding for the 5 different programs that we have to celebrate our students for their graduate, for their transferring. And those are ISB, work study student, veteran student, men of color, and what's the other one? Promise student. And we basically asking for 2,500. Those will be used for food and beverage, decorations, printing certificates, and such. So we'll take any questions.
It's 500 each, correct?
Yes, we're gonna spread out evenly 500 for each program.
Adita, do you want to also?
Just to give a little more context, finance approved full amount for the request, 500 for 5 different transfer celebrations. I do want to point out though, 2 of those events have already taken place, so that was a point of discussion in the finance committee. However, we still approved the full amount because we want to continue supporting events such as this, and we think this is part of why doing this. But feel free to talk about the fact that 2 events have already taken place, and yeah.
And there is nothing that, disallows that, so I mean, you fill out. DSG does the usually move that, there's nothing against it.
Aaron, can I motion? We have, but should we discuss like what if what noise it? Yeah, I can get a motion to approve. Okay, anybody second for Richie? Second. Are there any objections? Okay, the motion passes, moved by Aaron, seconded by Virgie. So that's that.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on to business item 4. This is the resolution for additional financial assistance for all the DASG students, and to discuss just that. Here we are. Can I have Eddie come up to present this item?
You give me a minute, my legs all.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'll start.
This is a resolution to provide additional financial assistance for all the other students. I put in my name as the author, but I just want to clarify that this was a group venture by the administration committee. I just forgot to put their name. So we'll break it down in 3 parts. For the first page, the common data that you find online about the current financial situation of the people in California, more specifically the Bay Area. If you go down page, this is kind of what will lead on to the result, and as a result, it's app that we're gonna ask people for, and possibly the district, it'll be go up again. The first word as the first California Community College District, consider creating a balanced budget that's a quick strategy for achieving student success and equity goals are priority, even if reduction in overall expenditure is necessary. The team, right from the board policy, they specifically stated that their goal was to create a balanced budget that would strategy for achieving student success. For the second word, the survey by the answer in 2023 highlights the alarming rate of basic needs and insecurity among students, with 16% being homeless, 29% being home insecure in the prior year, and 29% being food insecure in the past 30 days. I don't know about any of you, but those numbers are very alarming, especially in how expensive the area is right now. I did not imagine that many of us were experiencing that kind of financial aid, financial struggle. Oh, by the way, if you want to pull it up, it's in the agenda. You don't have to look over here. For the third one, California students work an average of 24 hours a week. And according to a study done by Equity of Learning, working more than 15 hours a week exponentially decreases students' chance to graduate. Among low-income UC test students, 63% of students working 15 hours a week or less graduated within 6 years, and 46% had a C, D, or F average. When students are trying to balance extracurriculars and education with working, or we kind of get to a point where they're going to prioritize working to get an education, but they're failing at it. The fourth one is according to a study by the Hodiyasa district in the academic year 2021-2022, only 11,000 out of 27,000 DNS students took 12 or more units. That is the standard amount of units. That's the minimum that I think students should achieve per quarter. Again, very alarming that less than half of them are taking the required units to graduate within 2 academic years. And whereas to be eligible for the promise, students need to enroll in at least 12 interns. That kind of carries on to the previous whereas. And whereas of a survey of 217 students who enrolled in the spring quarter in the answer of 2021, 65 respondents said that they took 8 or more quarters but stayed for more than 2 years. If you don't know, if the standard amount of years that you would stay in the end in 2 years, and that's how much they would, that's how a lot of students would calculate the expenses. So if they stay for more than 2 years, well, there's added expenses that they did not anticipate before coming to the answer. Okay, so according to the California Community College Chancellor's Office, only 9,000 unique students were provided California College Promise Grant grant loan scholarship and work study. That leaves 18,000 unique DASG students who did not receive federal or state financial aid in the 2021-2022 academic year. That's a very low percentage. And then tuition and fees only account for 5% cost of California community college students living on campus. So if you imagine the cost of rent, food, electricity, gas, well, that's 95% of the cost, and 5%, which frankly is the thing that we usually focus on when it comes to financials, is only 5%. Second one, since June of last year, gas, actually let's get that in. So DASG enjoys monetary protection. Can you go down, please? A little bit on. Yeah, I think we're over here. This is like really important. So right now, DASG enjoys monetary protection under the whole policy that guarantees a minimum funding amount equivalent to the 2017 to 2018 funding year, adjusted annually to cost of living adjustment. So for the past 5 years, DASG has benefited from funding non-contingent enrollment trends. For the academic year 2024 to 2025, which is next year, DASG will rely on the new student-centered funding formula that allocates funding according to a base allocation linked to enrollment and supplement allocation linked to lower income students and a student success allocation linked to the student outcomes. So what that means is that for the past 5 years, DASG did not have to worry about the enrollment trend when the student funds from the state because they were protected and they were guaranteed to get at the minimum the funding that they get in the 2017 to 2018 fiscal year. Only until the next academic year will they have to worry about enrollment trends. And DASG has an overwhelming incentive to at the minimum monetarily increase enrollment in the 2024 to 2025 academic year, which will act as the new funding minimum, excluding the annual addition of COLA cost of living adjustment for the foreseeable year. Like I mentioned before, next year is a huge deal for DASG. If they get enough enrollment trend, if a lot of students do well, then they're going to receive additional funding. On top of that, next year will be the new funding limit, funding minimum for the foreseeable year. So for example, in 2030, if only half the students that we have now enrolled, well, DASG doesn't have to worry too much because now they guarantee the funding from the 2024 to 2025 academic year. So next year will be an incredibly big deal for DASG. So now with DASG ensures that any future initiatives to improve enrollment numbers and student success for the 2024 to 2025 academic year will also, I highlighted it because very important, significantly increase financial aid compared to previous years with scholarship awards, waivers, free materials, and discounts. Furthermore, DASG commits to matching or exceeding the level of financial assistance provided in 2024 to 2025 and subsequent years, regardless of funding the revenue outcome. What that means is, again, for example, if next year they provide $10 of financial aid, they can't go back and say, okay, we're only going to provide $5 in financial aid in 2030. At the minimum, we would have to provide 10 or more. So pretty much we're trying to take the loss and we're trying to provide additional financial aid, and whatever they provide, it has to be standard across the board through the foreseeable future. This is something that's going to affect half of you in this room. So if I were you, I would put great importance to, frankly, the financial aid that you will be provided. So if you have any questions, let me know right now. If you have any questions during the summer, let me know through Discord. Yeah, I'll be opening the questions.
Are there any questions for the resolution? No, I think that's it. Thank you so much, Ed. Okay, moving on to business item 5. Dennis?
Yeah, about this is before we get started, and the others board to speak from wherever they are. This is this is a draft. Everything is up for discussion. In particular, the part of Article 5, I think it was, and the article number is not set in stone either right now. Right, sorry, but in particular, the programs. Section 3, Article 5, the number of them in which ones You know, and PPS, HEPA's, and VIA, which are already on the current. The rest of the list, just how do we determine that?
Yeah, this item is to discuss diversity seats and program representatives on the DSG Senate. And to approve the draft of the DSG bylaws, related to the diversity seats. So can I have Hannah, Megan, Ariana, Katya, Joshua, let's present this item. Whoever wants to.
Oh. Okay, hello, everyone. So I'm sure you've heard about the whole diversity seat confusion thing during elections and how that works. So this whole item is essentially to be able to use or to add more diversity into the Senate without using diversity seats by adding additional advocacy liaison positions. So this, I don't know if you've seen this before, but this is an amendment to the bylaws. That includes who the Senate, like who makes up the Senate. The main thing that is being changed here is the number of program representatives. So here it says 15 program representatives. This is just a suggestion that encompasses most of the programs here at DeAnza, but we are trying to actually change it to follow the data that is given by the student equity plan for 2022 to 2025. So basically there's a set of students that are disproportionately impacted. And so the program liaison seats or advocacy liaison seats that would be added to the HEPA, VITA, and PPS would be directly targeting those student areas. And so can I actually pull us? Can I pull up something?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. Okay.
While he's doing that, if you also have any comments about any of the language of actually Article 5. Some of it, I kind of copied and pasted from the existing language in the bylaws, made necessary updates, so some of the language maybe.
Yeah, so the biggest thing is we're not, I know we've been calling it the diversity seat proposal change, but we're actually not changing the diversity seats. I guess those will technically still be in the bylaws, but are they? Okay, just kidding, that might not be an accurate statement, but what we're trying to do is add advocacy liaison spots. So this student equity plan is basically a summary of using the data of student population and the amount of impact or disproportionate impact that certain students face. And so these groups include Black, Filipinx, foster youth, Latinx, LGBTQ+, Native American Islander and Pacific, or Native American and Pacific Islander students. And so our proposal is to add 6 more spots to fulfill basically one-to-one to help these student groups. So those groups would be Umoja for Black students, Impact API for Filipinx and Native or Pacific Islanders, and then EOPS, which is the umbrella program for foster youth, next up. So that kind of also includes single parents and people low income. And then for Latinx, that would be Leave/Puente. Apparently they're like basically the same program. And then LGBTQ+ would be the Pride Center. And then for Native Americans, there are no programs specifically for Native American students. In fact, they're the most impacted students. They really need our support. And so we've agreed, the SRE committee agreed that we would be the ones doing the outreach to fill this position to basically help that community get the resources they need. And so although in this proposal, we have all of these listed. Holistically, it's, I don't know, can you see which one's bolded? Did that help anything, or should I just change the color? Okay, sure. So it actually be EOPS, FS impact lead, EBS Pride Center Puente, Umoja. 1, 2, 3, 4. Five, 6, 7, 8. And the last one is, is the Native American advocacy liaison position, which would not be filled by a program representative, but would be one done by like officer.
Well, that's what was on the original.
Yeah,
proposal, but
no, it's
that's-
just
Anything can change.
additional is native. American. Advocacy. Okay. So that's our proposal. Or at least our proposal is that you allow us to reach out to these programs to get a representative to add these 6 additional to the 3 current advocacy liaison positions. And as far as who is in it, I think using this, what's it called again, the student equity plan, student equity plan from Nianza is the best way to do it, because although we'd love to, include all the programs and help everyone out, this is data-driven, seat selection. Yeah. Any questions? Back to you.
Can I ask a clarifying question? So for today's vote, are we voting to add just the bolded and underlined positions or everything that we see?
I would.
Well, no, I mean, this was the whole document, but you can edit it any way you want.
So,
It would, if you're, to do so, you can just.
yeah, I'm asking for the bolded.
Oh,
Yeah. Adrian.
so I would just like to say, first of all, excellent work. This looks really good. But my one question is there any way that we can add PSPS to this? It would be nice to see, personally, I'm autistic, but I haven't seen any, physically disabled, anyone with a wheelchair or anything like that in any Senate meetings, anything ever. I think it would be, really excellent if we could, open that door for the SPS to join the Senate and add that unique perspective to the Senate.
Yeah, so one thing that we would, that's definitely a great point, that it seems like a lot of these, groups that are put in priority are basically, ethnicity, centered. And so I don't, in order to answer your question, I'd have to figure out whether it includes all groups, including like DSPS or whatever. And so if it is including it, then I would say, because we are simply just trying to go with what Deanza's path is for the equity action plan. Once again, we'd love to add more program seats, but just from the data itself, I think if we were to add 6 positions, these are the 6 spots we would add. But once again, we are open to changing that if the data is in fact not aligned with that. Yes, Javin?
Yeah, I mean, this is DHG's thing, so, I mean, it could include ESPS or whatever, as well.
But if there's a benchmark, then this should be it probably.
Yeah, this would be the minimum.
So, this is just a clarifying question.
Yeah.
Like not a comment or anything, but like reading says there's the total possibility of 41 voting.
That's if it's all this.
Yeah.
But if it would only be 6, that would reduce.
Yeah,
So we're thinking about like just implementing the 6 that are highlighted.
Well,
it's actually 9, so 6 additional to the 3.
so that it will be the 3, correct. So Vita, FS, and PDS. And then whatever number of additional.
Okay, so it wouldn't be the full 40.
Well,
No, so,
yeah, so the 41, if you look in that article or that section, it's saying, 9 executives, 17 senators plus X amount of programs. The list right here is 15, that's not necessarily one.
yeah, so the 15 is a little bit arbitrary. When we first discussed it, it was gonna be 5 or 6. It wasn't necessarily the exact 5 or 6. But I guess, Dennis included them just to
Well,
be.
during, one of the last brainstorming sessions at the admin meeting, there was questions about, okay, like, should we, because some of these kind of do overlap, like, is it need, is it Puente, is it need / Puente, for example? So both are listed and, we were gonna bring it to the Senate to discuss the finer details. And then, men of color, Josh was in the program, so if he can, should that be on there? Or does lead and Umoja cover that? So, there were questions like that we thought it would be nice to discuss at the Senate.
Yeah, I just wanted to say one thing real quick. I'm a member of PPS and, I don't think PPS should be one of the bolded, sentences, to be honest with you, because what we do is completely different, right? I feel like maybe giving an opportunity to a different group might be better because VIDA and HEFAs are more about advocacy in terms of like on campus, but PPS is just whatever we take from here and we go to state senate. So that's what I think that we can about as well. I mean, he was also PPS.
Yeah, Chris.
Yeah, I can't obviously speak for Daniela, but she is the PPS rep, and I don't know how she feels. But just personally, as a public policy school intern, I would love to see that seat be carried over to an actual program or an actual like marginalized community that deserves to be here.
Yeah, that's totally fair. Our main focus with this wasn't necessarily to look at all 9, it was just to look at those additional 6, assuming that the 3 we already had were well justified. But if PBS doesn't seem like a good thing, that we are super down to.
Yeah, that can be ruled.
So-
The whole thing is what's being discussed here.
So then I'm going to remove this, so we have 8 positions.
And you
I
could
think
put in,
then we should include.
yeah, so that is a possibility, so.
Sorry, Ariana, what were you saying?
I think maybe then we should, if we've taken on one, we could include the SPS. I don't know,
Oh, yeah, so actually, is this regarding the SPS?
yeah, I was
Okay.
gonna ask if I could make a motion, we should replace the PPS with PSF.
Before you make that motion, can I give you a little bit of information?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Ryan actually just did some quick research. I love the on-the-spot research. So it looks like this equity action plan only covers the groups that, as Ryan described, Deanna cares about.
The school has specific groups that they track, and the SPS may not be one of the groups that they're actually like tracking, like LGBTQ, foster youth, these are groups they track, Asians, like, these are groups that they track, but like, I don't think they are tracking disabled students, which means that the data on that plan doesn't cover disabled students.
So I'm also for it. You can go ahead. Adrian.
I'd just like to say that's a kind of discrimination in itself, that disabled students are overlooked in that way. And I think that it doesn't mean that like DSG should like not care to add them. And I would like to move to replace PPS with PSPS as one of the target groups.
This is a commenting on their motion. I just had another clarifying question. I think Adrian brings up like great concerns because I feel like with this proposal, I had this question. Would there still be open diversity seats for people to run
Yeah,
for? Or
there's some confusion, we may need to talk about that, because, for one, if there are, we do not want it to be only if the Senate is full, so that part everyone wants to remove. We had lots of discussion, so I was under the impression this was replacing that, and the diversity seats would come from the related programs to those groups, those diversity groups,
I see.
but,
I mean-
maybe not.
We were also confused because,
If I can add one more thing, I'm almost done.
go ahead.
Because if that's the case, I honestly think, I mean, I think you guys did a really good job, but it also kind of raises the question of this is kind of going against equity in a way, if you think about it, because there are certain people who are not a part of these communities, and obviously this community, it covers a lot,
Yeah.
right? And like Adrian brought up, DSPS isn't being tracked by DNSA, so I think this is kind of inequitable in a way.
Yeah.
So if there maybe was a way to also include open diversity seats, people might not follow like these communities, and see if you can like integrate both, that might be better.
Are we, yeah, those numbers, or are we separate?
I mean, it is, I mean, we can take notes of things that come up, and it is also, it'll be recorded in Zoom as well. Yeah, no, I mean, that's a very valid point. And then, one question I did have is because the EOPS covers a lot.
Yeah.
So the thing you showed, the equity plan covered only Guardian Scholars / next. So do we want to do EOPS, or do we want to just say specify it more? Or?
So the thing I pulled up was actually, it only talked about foster youth, that's not, it only talked about foster youth. So I actually talked to the EOPS, like, I guess she's like one of the coordinators. And the EOPS is the umbrella, program for Next Up Care and Guardian Scholars. And so, it seems like they don't have too many student interns, so even if we did want to give them a student representative position, like they really realistically have like one in all 4 programs. So, I mean, we can talk to them, but I think you can, yeah. But yeah, excellent, cool start, Rich.
Yeah, so I just want to respond to Richie's comment because I think he makes a valid point. That's one of the things that we discussed within SRE when we came up with the plan. We actually had a different proposal that we were kind of brainstorming, but just because of the limited amount of time that we have, we weren't able to take that approach. So that's an approach that we're gonna look into next year when we have more time. But this is just kind of like a way to really see before fall. That way they're up and running, right? So it makes sense. It kind of feels a bit iffy when it comes to okay, who do we include and who do we exclude, right? Because you're right, it does defeat the purpose of equity. But I think right now, that's why we pulled up the equity plan, just to kind of have something up and running. But eventually, we would like to open these seats up to all the community spaces that are underrepresented, and they would have their own set of elections. But that's something that we would be looking into next year. But this is just kind of a way to fill in the seats for this year.
So are these seats like, they're appointed, right?
It's just like the PPS have those meetup seats currently.
So I want clarification because I'm not fully aware as how they are.
We asked them for a representative, they let us know. They figure out which of their people.
So it's either a student employee or like an intern that is.
In terms of like concept, like conceptually speaking, I think that this is like an absolutely amazing like update and thing that you guys want to do. But in terms of like the actuality, like there's gonna be like an ignorant comment, so like apologies if we may come across that way. But like with these appointed representatives, we have no connection to understand that if they are actually competent enough to voice certain people, and obviously that's what we expect in like, we expect them to appoint someone who can do that, right? But in the case of like being a senator, a lot of the voting that we do as a Senate, like even like today, for example, like the preceding business items had little to do with like equitable like affairs and like actually like voicing different opinions on like groups on campus. So I feel that it is like, obviously we want to make it equitable, but if we have this many additional seats, I feel like this is obviously like a case by case basis, because obviously we might just get like 9 amazingly competent people who have amazing ideas and like vote properly, right? But that may not always be the case, and so I feel like that should be taken into concern at some point, but.
For people who have hands up, do you want to respond to that?
Okay, Adrian.
So the kind of, the point isn't like, oh, it's like, we don't want their voices only for like things relating to equity. We want their voices, period, because they're not having them, like, they're not already being represented in our Senate. Like, all the decisions that we make are like, your whole background influences how you're going to vote. And when people of only certain backgrounds are represented, that's why people vote certain ways. And when you include people of different backgrounds, they might vote differently, but that doesn't mean that they're not voting properly. And we have training.
That's not at all, sorry, I apologize, but that is not at all what I meant to convey. I meant to say that it's the same thing with appointing positions within ourselves, like our own elections process. There's no guarantee, obviously, that we will appoint someone who is properly fitted for the position, especially if we do not have a strong candidate pool. But that's what I'm saying, is that we have no reference points as to understanding how well, like, the representative can be received for the industry government.
Yeah, can I just add on to what Javin said? I honestly wanted to actually open it up to, I know we have 2 or 3 representatives here. What was the formula in you being selected as the rep? Because I feel like Javin said, I think that also might be a concern if everyone has their own formula and we're kind of trusting everyone to kind of elect their own officer. What's like, there still has to be like a similar formula. So if you don't mind sharing, could you let me know how you were elected?
I mean, wait,
I'm talking about the Vida and House rep, just to see like how they were elected inside their program as a senator.
Okay, so as the advocacy senator from VITA, we have an event called Pass the Torch where we discuss our new interns. So last year, we had the full set of interns for the next academic year, in which we had our discussion, and then our program coordinator on Helica's eval ultimately decided on who should be there. Partly, I think also based on our like applications and experience and things like that.
Sorry to interrupt, just really quick, could I get a motion to extend discussion? Janet?
I was in the discussion by 10 minutes.
Were you two done?
Okay.
Yeah, so I just.
There was a motion to extend.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Second.
Second. Are there any objections?
They're not done.
I mean,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I mean, someone can still object.
Okay, so how I
Are
was.
there, sorry, are there any objections? Were there any? No. So there are no objections? Okay, so. If I, how much? Each said 10 minutes, 10 minutes, okay, sorry, thank you so much.
So how I was chosen, obviously, Jennifer was, November 20. Due to a lot of things, we had to switch back. I was chosen by Sheila Ramos Garcia. I am part of the sister program of HEFAS and DocuStem, which works with undocumented students in the STEM field. I was chosen based by my experience getting in here, and a lot of variables played, just the atmosphere, the people that I'm around with. So I think, that was just the process of being chosen, but I was chosen to be based on like how Matthew explained it, experience and the resume. I would even, had to talk to Shayla, and she told me like, this is what you're gonna do, this is how you're gonna represent us. Yeah, that's how it's.
But we also like voted for Matsuko. I don't know if you
Yeah.
remember, but like we also like the interns all like voted, oh yes, we all think Matsuko is like can represent us. So I think most student groups will just like,
They won't pick, yeah.
So sounds like the work that the people do within the programs is being recognized, and them being bad leaders and or vote members isn't really an issue. Like I guess I'm still not super sure what your concern, Jeff.
So, okay, just to clarify, I'm not saying to remove, I apologize for my inability to articulate myself properly, but I'm not saying to remove these seats that we have, that we're proposing the 9. I'm saying like, for example, like, we need to have like some way to like regulate as a Senate in order to observe like that process, or also the ability to remove said representative. For example, and this is no shots at all, because I don't know them personally, but like our PPS representative, like for the Pepas and like both Matsuko and Matthew, I've seen them like participate in discussion actively and provide a lot of insight with their roles. But like, for example, the PPS seat that we have currently, I haven't been here for a long time, obviously, but in the past month or two that I've been a senator, I haven't seen them actively like participate in discussion or like in that sense, or even come to meetings. And in that sense, I believe that there should be a way to regulate the representative of each group. So I'm not saying to remove any of the groups that we have, but just to regulate the representative that each group is provided.
Yeah, that's fine. I was just gonna say, yeah, Brian was telling me that technically that's not really part, I mean, it's part of this proposal, because once again, this can be amended and all that stuff. I think the that's definitely a part of the procedure we can add to these bylaws. But I think the main thing we want to do today is to reach out to programs to say that these positions are available. So that's an excellent point, and this is why this is a discussion point, so we can guide how we basically finish writing these bylaws. So thank you for your point. Does anyone else want to add to this point, or, okay,
Yeah, I had a quick thing to say. So I get what Javin's saying, and I think like the easiest fix would just be to make sure that like in the thing, it says like, this is your expectation, and then like, just, that's it. Cause like at the end of the day, I feel like if the programs are choosing people, they're not gonna choose someone who's not gonna represent them. And I feel like for the example of PPS, I can think a little bit, at least in my opinion, that just goes back to like what Varenchi and Chris kind of mentioned about how like, it's not the same as like HEFAs or VITAs, where they're actually like learning like actively like advocacy. So I feel like, because I mean, that's like 2 out of 3, so that's good number.
Yeah. I think it's public. It's been raised.
I don't.
So I support this, I think it's, I discussed the proposal one for this meeting. And I do like the idea of adding, something for disabled students to represent them, and the fact that there isn't, represents, I think, the fact that we realize, right, that we have a decision doing this discussion, I think it's a but I think, in terms of them, the ability for them to go and have discussion with the body, and questioning it is, like, I understand that. I feel like there was one piece of oversight. I feel like having, for example, or good power for all of you guys against them would be basically a little problematic in my opinion. Because I feel like they should have the same, be on the same level as you guys, just like the other, I think something we want is like, if you're investing in or something, have something with guidelines and then you send it to the programs, and they would have to, but then they would still have like discretion on if there is support in it. Anyway, in general, I think it's like I think there's been a lot of discussion of these outside of this body, the diversity seats and bringing more black and brown people into this picture. I've been in virtual for 2 years now, and I just didn't have the time to get into it again. But from what I see, it's also just being sort of a wealth of knowledge and cultural capital for that is lacking in a lot of these areas. And so I think even though like one thing I would love to see if there were more that would have opportunities for program again to choose to use buildings. That would be great, but considering the time constraint is the last minute, I think it's still really valuable to have such added in. So there are people that are here to voice their concerns, and I still trust the coordinators to choose people who are competent and who adequately can represent the. And it's never gonna be perfect, right? And you have to go really good offices where they have some level of gap and things like that to change. But I think it's a huge improvement from what exists right now. And that's my reason. So I'm very happy with that.
Yeah, and I would like to add that there is a section in the bylaws that Dennis added, just like any other section for senators, it's
to adhere to all like laws of all types and come to the Senate meetings, perform the duties, basically act as a senator. So, if they don't, then, viable work. Okay, yes, Adrian.
So I'm not gonna say like our jobs are easy, but they're not rocket science. Like, we all start somewhere and we do have trainings and we do like learn as we go. Like, I feel like the most important thing is to just like give people, like open the door for them, get them in the room. And they can learn and pick up as they go. And then if they really don't like it, then they can back out like any of us. But I feel like if you're considering like impeachment, then any single one of us should be able to be impeached the same way. Like, I don't think that's a fair thing to say, because like even with our like elections, it's open to the like whole human body. Who knows why they're going to vote? The people that they're going to vote. They might just think that someone has a funny election poster, so they get a vote, not because of their skills. Like, we are all learning and growing as student leaders, and the important thing is that we open the door to as many people and as many communities and as many diverse voices as we possibly can.
I'm gonna add just one more sentence before you go, Davin. We are, like, the whole Senate, like, goal is to represent the city. And the work that the programs do are equally important, if not more, than what we do. So, I mean, it's just basically what Adrian was saying, but I think if we just keep that mindset, and also the other thing is, the reason why we're doing this now and not, doing this next fall when it was first, told to be tabled to, is so that we can once again do that outreach and then get the people who are going to fill in those representative positions into the leadership training, so they will be with us, and that will be like social vetting, if you will, want.
And I, just like my last thing, comment I'm gonna make, but it's just, I completely agree with everything that you said, Adrian, and that's precisely my point, is I think that, I was focusing too much on just this, I guess, idea specific, but I think that that's something we should apply as a Senate in entirety, the easier ability to maybe not like impeach, but to actually like have conversations of like whether or not a person is competent enough to continue their position, regardless of this or a regular seat as a senator. And I'm not like trying to like disagree with this idea at all. I'm completely for it. I'm just talking about like the practicality and like the things that we can implement in the future to make it a better or like process.
So we have 30 seconds left, so in case if anyone wants to extend time, we can, or, after I speak. So a couple things. One, the main thing that SRE needs approved isn't necessarily all of this, but does the Senate endorse the concept and which programs? So, this language is all still in flux and can still be edited, and the whole bylaws is going to be presented to the Senate in fall, because there's a lot of changes that need to be made. But this at least gives you a kind of a reference for what we've been thinking about. The motion can be to just approve of the idea of having these additional reps and which programs those should come from for now, so that SRE can start at least trying to get those reps. And then a little bit of history and hopes for the future. Historically, DASG has been wrestling with this for a very long time, with the diversity on the Senate. And then this fall, we had, I think this is the first or second year we've had the diversity seat. So one thing we definitely don't want is only if it's full, that we will open them up, if they're still in here, which they can be. But the issue that came up this fall was, we had a person, with the Senate was full, a person came to the Senate meeting, wanted to join, but they were the same as everyone else already on the Senate. And so then the question came up, okay, how do we do these diversity seats? Can we say only X students can apply? What process do we have for that? What process will be allowed to use? So that was the really difficult question that we could not figure out yet, and I'm not sure we have yet either. But, nobody is against keeping diversity seats, but we're all for removing the only if it's full. So we would still need to figure out how to do diversity. And like I said, the Senate has been wrestling with this issue for a long time. The ideal world, the hope for the future is that we are able to use every resource we have, and one of the main reasons for the student leader compensation, the scholarship, is to try and get a lot of these students who simply can't participate because of socioeconomic reasons. If they're able to get a decent compensation for their time in Senate, maybe they can reduce hours they need to work outside. So that is part of trying to help with diversity in the Senate. We just also need to do a better job of outreach and letting people know about to these specific groups. So this concept came up as not necessarily something that will go away, but maybe a stopgap measure for now to help bring some of that voice in while we continue to think about how do we do diversity seats and how do we improve diversity in general. Because in an ideal world, we wouldn't need any of this, but we're already getting a very diverse Senate to begin with. So yeah, so the motion doesn't have to be to approve any of it, just is this idea good and which programs?
Okay, so these are still questions and or comments, right? Before we. Oh,
Can I most of the time? Can we do 5 minutes? 10, you'll do 10, I guess, 10 minutes.
10 minutes. I mean, we don't have to take the whole 10, but. 10.
Yeah, we're gonna get 10 minutes.
Yeah. Are there any objections?
No. I'll check. Okay, we'll go. Hopefully next year voting will be on quicker. We're looking at a system that will allow people to just quickly vote through their laptops or phones or tablets.
For the sake of time, can we just raise hands if you object that way?
Well, we did.
I know, but raise your hand if you vote no, you don't want to extend.
oh, yeah.
We have to record names.
I know, but if we raise hands, you can just see them, like.
Right.
I don't know. Yeah, would that work?
Okay, all right, let's just go. Just remember, the amount of time that it takes to do this, we're already taking up time, so. We have another large item that we have to get through tonight. Are you going to, are you still objecting to this? Or do you want to read it? Are you objecting?
To rescinding.
Otherwise, we're yeah.
Hurry up, like.
You're gonna get outvoted.
Oh, yeah. What was that?
You want, are you gonna?
Can we do 5 minutes instead? No.
Look, we don't.
It's always say we wrote and discussion.
I mean, if there's no more discussion, if someone is never mind, then never mind.
All right. Let's go on.
Okay, so.
Okay.
The motion approves. All right.
Okay,
10 more minutes.
all right, more
Up to-
comments and questions.
Okay, first thanks Dennis for like kind of laying everything out. I think it kind of helped out.
Can we write down?
But I really love this idea, but I also want to point kind of the flaws that I kind of see. Number one, I think one of the things I see is as a kind of a flaw is we didn't note down DSPS until. As soon as Adrian said it, right? And I think having like a very tight, like air sealed, like, oh, these are the positions we have, right? I feel like that's kind of, I think it's bad in my opinion, because I think we should also add like an open diversity seats in some way or another, because we can't just say, oh, if you're from this program, which is internally elected, you're good, right? So I feel like maybe having the programs you just talked about, as well as maybe having 3 or 4 diversity seats open might help. That's just what I'm saying.
Yeah, like I said, the motion doesn't have to be to remove any of this, just the concept and which programs you want for now.
Yeah.
That's, I want to
The
add.
bylaws is gonna be, the bylaws already has diversity seats, and we'll update the bylaws in fall, we can keep them. we don't have to remove them, and we definitely wanna remove the cap, or the only visible part. And then we still would need to talk about in the fall, how do we, reach out for them, how do we choose them, all that, but, we don't have to remove them. All we need now is the idea of adding these program reps, good, and which programs do you want?
Okay, do you wanna add?
Yeah, I think I was just adding to the concept that's it.
Okay. Yeah, and I mean, I think, I don't know if we mentioned this before, but the whole point of just having these positions is just so that because that's a whole process in itself, those open seats, that's just the second. Yeah. Okay, Isaac,
Yeah, no,
yes,
that's-
we're not
Like,
counting
you
it,
don't-
we just want these certain positions right now, and we can add
No, but like, you don't have to specify, like,
which programs.
what's the program. You know, like, I mean, I think everyone is diverse enough in a way that.
That's enough on
Yes, I think not specifying is a really big issue because we have not been specifying diversity. And that's the whole problem, like, they don't come, they're not gonna they're not gonna come, like, if we specify specifically, like, here is this spot for you, they're gonna come. They're gonna choose somebody, just like Vida and Hefas did. I mean, but also diversity seats were just normal center positions, so versus this, it's like representatives, so it's like we're reaching out to the programs versus diversity setting, so I don't think that's necessarily what's the issue, but. Yeah, okay.
Okay, so, I'd like to remake my motion to amend PPS to DSPS. Because I didn't have a second, so if you get a second for that, that would be nice. And, I'd like to move to approve the 6 underlying positions with PPS amended to DSPS. So that we can be done with this item.
And just to be clear, the total position would be EOPS, HEFAS, Impact, EOPS, HEFAS, Impact, and API lead, Pride Center, Umoja, Vida, Native American Advocacy Liaison Senator position, and then DSPS. So can I get a motion? So you vote.
Yeah, I'm
to
motioning
add.
for a second.
Okay.
So let me know when it's
All right. Motion to amend PPS with the DSPS positions as well as the 8 additional positions for advocacy liaison senators.
6, since PPS, that's already there, I guess.
Okay, so like 6 additional. Approved, motion or approved by Adrian, seconded,
Well, moved by.
moved by Adrian, seconded by,
Thanks for giving me that.
oh.
Yeah.
The practice,
Wait,
All the chairs need to know that.
Richie, yeah.
aren't there 2 separate motions? I'm kind of lost. So you said that we're amending DSPS, we're amending PPS to DSPS, right?
Yeah.
And then
That's
that's one motion.
No, that didn't happen. So, yeah, I definitely just to keep things to one motion. So
Okay,
first,
one motion.
Okay, so-
So it's to add DSPS instead of PPS and then have the 6 additional
No, we
be the
don't.
ones that are not HEFAs or.
It has to be 2 different motions.
no. It shouldn't. To make it simple.
No, that's.
That's fair, that's fair. Okay, so.
Okay, what if I word it like this? I move to approve EOPS, HEFAS, Impact API, Lead, Pride Center, Moja, Vida, Native American Advocacy Liaison, and DSGS for the endeavor, for the
Program.
for the thing, for the
Yeah.
thing.
Okay,
Okay, that's one motion.
Okay.
Second, are there any objections to that motion? Okay, no objections, so that motion moved by Adrian, seconded by Aaron. is there a second motion?
No, there's no. So that covers everything now. So we still have program reps, but those are the new programs they come from. Pepis and Vita, and then those additional ones that we mentioned. And then we will continue to work on the bylaws, with summer, beginning of fall, for everything else.
And summary, we recognize the flaws in potentially filling these positions, though we still think it's better to have these positions, and we will try to edit it as we go next year.
And Joe, so what was the final motion and how many seats in the?
So, to approve
All the bolded and underlined programs to be.
as the new program for DASG. Instead of just PPS, Compass, and Vita, it would be those programs listed.
Yeah, so it's 9 total.
Okay.
It's-
I mean, you can. Very different.
Yeah.
He objected before the motion was finalized.
Yeah, it's finally.
No, you can still.
Guys gotta pay attention. Wait, so the motion was just fine. He never asked about objections. No, he did not. So you can't still object.
You can still object to any
You can't
motion.
object.
And you can't.
You're really gonna do it to this?
Okay, but for what? Okay, so I think he is not subject.
For what? They asked today.
I guess, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, are there any objections? Joel? Okay.
Do you have any amendment or? Okay.
Now we're gonna vote, yay.
Now, none of this is final, but we want to at least get the concept of the programs finalized so that recruitment can make it. We already have the Pepis rep. We haven't heard back about Vita yet, and then we'll work on the rest.
Wait, Luca, just a quick question. Luca, I had a quick question. Can we hear out what Joel, like, what his concerns are?
Yeah.
before we go to the voting?
What are you-
Okay, so it's 9 seats, right? So we're basically saying that they have to be from each of those programs. And so basically, like, we're saying that because we don't hear them from Senate, basically, it's not diverse enough, that they have to be from these programs. Why can't we make it, they're strongly recommended that the 9 seats are from these programs?
We can change
I'd
that.
give the box it into like, you have to be from the, you have to be from.
We, we could make it strongly recommended. The idea is that we want to reach out to these people because they do represent those communities that are disproportionately.
Right, but what we're doing right now is basically saying that you have to be from this program to like do it. So then what about like, I feel like there's gonna be like 20 other programs or like 20 other like marginalized groups. that are
Yeah.
like, Oh,
They pay
they don't do that. So then it's like, that's like, then at that point, it's like, are we gonna have one
We
seat for all?
understand that.
Right, I mean, you could have brought that up, so.
And it was brought up, but we need someplace to start from. Right now to try and start recruitment for some of it.
Right, but why can't we just say that like, we strongly recommend that the candidates are from these groups?
We're
And not
approving
say
the
that.
concept right now for these seats, just for the fact these.
I'm not, that's fair. We're not, we can't add to this, but all we want to do right now is to reach out to programs that hold these, or help these disproportionately impacted students. Yes, the specific bylaws can be edited.
That's actually something.
Okay, I'll just give a quick reminder that like, this is not like a very finalized like proposal. Like this is, we understand this is not a perfect solution to our problems, but right now having this is better than having nothing at all. And our, maybe one of the many like, concerns regarding diversity seats, it's just that like some people do not understand what diverse actually means. And by doing so, we're actually giving a clear definition so that we can actually like get a start. And we can fix this later, we can change these later, but for now, let's just have something for now.
So essentially, all we're doing right now, as far as the bylaws is concerned, is changing the 3 advocacy seats or program representatives to these 9 program representatives. There are a lot more bylaws changes that are coming. And it could include more information or more definitions and so on about diversity seats, about program reps or whatever, but We're just trying to get a start.
I'd also like to add that it's possible that these programs don't even have a student that is willing, or like they don't have the resources to add a person here. So it's possible that they can't even like basically support that, and we allow a different position to be added.
Okay, I wanna add, this is not discussion time.
We need to vote.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
The motion was to approve the concepts of including these 9 bolded and underlined programs as student reps as part of the Senate. As a means of adding.
So basically, these 9 instead of the current 3, which includes 2.
Okay, I'm gonna start asking you, I think. Okay, I'll come back to you. Anna?
Yes.
Yeah. Joel?
No.
Ariana?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Megan? Benjamin? Renji?
No.
Leandre?
Present.
Oh, Russian. Christopher?
I'm sorry, but no.
Aaron?
Yes.
Leah? Hello? Adrian?
Yes.
Donna? Donna?
Yes.
Jason?
No.
Yes. Yes.
Eddie?
Yes.
Guys, please quiet down.
Yeah. Anish?
Yes.
Gavin? Gavin, take it back.
Yes.
Unhooked.
No.
Okay, did I miss anyone?
Isaac?
Isaac.
No. Eddie?
No.
It was 15 yes and 8 no.
So the motion passes. Yeah?
Well, this is a start, we'll see how things go for now, and there will be more discussion and. So on. Thanks.
I would say that because there were a lot of objections, we like, once again, your ideas are very valid, and if you'd like to come discuss with us on how and who can talk to, basically, we would love that. We're not, like, once again, it's a very open bylaw change, so. Fall. Yeah.
Okay, before we move on to the next item, I know this has gone on pretty long, but I just want to add, this is like the last big item that you guys will ever have as part of Senate. So let's jump through it and then that's it. So this item is the annual governance reflection survey that we do as a whole student government setting. And we collaboratively answer these 3 questions. We can.
You guys, it's been a lot of side talk, and I can barely hear, and Luca's right over here, so please minimize those, and let's just get through an agenda item or second to last. Thank you.
So yeah, I'm just gonna read through them and we can go through them one by one and provide a response. So the first question is, reflecting on the work of the DHG Senate over the past year, how did this work help fulfill DeAnne's vision, mission, values, strategic initiatives, institutional core competencies, and commitment to equality? The second question is, reflecting on the DASG Senate's process and practices over the past year, please identify what has been working and what changes you plan to implement over the next academic year to ensure continuous improvement. And the final question is, reflecting on the DHG Senate's ability to disseminate information to its stakeholders, what are some strengths and weaknesses in regards to ensuring that all stakeholders are informed of the DHG Senate activities, processes, policies, and decisions? How can you improve your process for information dissemination next year? And with that, it's just a discussion item where we will be answering these questions. So we can start with the first one. How do we fulfill the ANSYS vision?
So we like to think that we're a sustainable campus, right? There's like signs posted around campus saying we're a sustainable campus. Well, DSG reinstated the ES committee and that's being sustainable, so. Values.
Which committee?
The environmental sustainability committee.
And this is just a discussion, so if anybody has any. Yeah. Yeah, the question again is, this is the ANSYS vision and mission statement and what the DHG did over the past year to follow through with these goals. And if you guys want, you can just discuss it yourselves a little bit as well, and then we can add.
I think only answer that one question now, I will get that later and say I'll capture the.
You can say other things you want to.
I think for a question, I think you create our processes and practices.
Can we get quiet from other people that are not on the floor right now?
I think for at least when we're tabling, that could use a lot more, not just quantity wise, but also quality. Just speaking from at least my, oh, it's the third one.
Yeah, no, this is just, it's.
Okay, yeah. At least for my event or Jenna and I's event, we plan the mini flea market and we have people tabling out there. The main goal of the mini flea market was to promote the main flea market that happens every single month. And when we table for DASG, even for Club Day and everything, we're tabling to promote DASG. And I mean, we just had a whole discussion about reaching out to people for diversity, equity, and whatnot. When we're actually there tabling, we're not really doing anything. I don't think a lot of us are reaching out, at least for the mini flea market. Most of the time, a lot of it is just sitting there. And I don't think we're actually engaging with the students to either promote DASG or at least in our case, Jenna and I's case, the main flea market. So if there's any processes that I feel that can be improved in the future, it's table. And I think it helps marketing even a lot as well. We think marketing is important for flyers and like, I don't know, Instagram posts, but a lot of it can come from just word of mouth. And I don't think over the past year, we've been the most engaging. It's very passive table, it's not active.
Would you guys say our stakeholders are the students of DANSYS?
This survey is for all veterans groups, so. The languages, not engineering.
And if you guys, you can also open up the questions are posted on the Senate agenda, so you can see it on there. What committee projects have you guys done? Let's just start with that. The market? Yes.
I mean, programs did like the homecoming and then the carnival.
Was that the first? Was that first?
Bringing back down the ones that have been-
What other projects, what other things have this DSG Senate accomplished over the past year that you guys distinctly recall? Yeah.
Oh, I had a question.
Yes.
Was the homecoming and the carnival broadcast, or was it just the carnival?
It might have been, there was carnivals after the pandemic. Was the homecoming a new?
Yeah, homecoming was brand new, carnival, first time since the pandemic.
There was also the tailgate, like football match, but I don't know if we want to run that under homecoming. But I believe it was promoted exclusively then. We did that.
Did you promote the football match or?
It was. I don't remember. We did it under homecoming and then we added, like we did the same promotion, tailgate as well.
The electricity.
So we made a number of initiatives like the voting booths that increase the voting turnout and make the next year's elected student leaders reflect the student body's interest in that.
And then I guess you could add to that for next year, we are working on improvements to the voting system. To the enhancements to the voting system. Improve the student registry.
What about other committees? What projects have you guys made? I mean, like, and this is just sort of telling people what we've done over the past year. What? Chris?
I mean, just for marketing, we increased our use of video content, like starting at TikTok and then prioritizing reels. And then something we plan on doing in the next year is more promotional items through DSG, so the use of stickers, hand sanitizers, t-shirts, and more.
So that could also go. Yeah. What other projects, what other kind of projects? Reflect on like what you've done as a senator.
Finance, I'd like. One we did a video, educating, students on what exactly the committee does, how the budget is, allocated, how it's split, where it comes from. And then the second one was, we also did some, marketing changes to how we're gonna market not marketing exactly, but outreach for the budget, press card.
That's not gonna you say is continuing to go.
Does it continue?
For next year, or is that like a fully changed?
It's continuing, yeah. And then the third one is, change to the budget request form, which is continuing. Yeah.
And what do you guys, I mean, we should put more on this question, what are we continuing to work on for next year?
For that.
For any committee?
Also,
But yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, so to add on to that, we also got, significant work that we got, important programs like Student Success Center paid by the college, we got the physician paid, and we did budget deliberation for the student presentation.
Okay.
And some things that we're like community is the budget request form, improving the budget process for future years.
Yes, Scott.
Is this for the things to improve next year?
Yeah, for things to improve next year, that would be, this is three.
Right, I would say, what it means to have a diverse Senate and how we-
What's the term? It's like, disproportionately impacted. For
What's the term for it?
the term, yeah, what was the term?
It's just the students that are doing portions of that. But that might not be a good term because that's what the plan uses, and as we have discussed today, that's not necessarily the most accurate representation of what it is.
It presents, it represents.
Change and define what it means for GAs to be diverse.
Yeah. Okay. I think this is pretty good so far. Is there anything that we're like truly missing that we worked on a lot throughout this year? Then, Dennis, would that just be once we filled out the form, should we just call a vote to submit it or?
Yes, I mean, just ask if there's anything anyone else wants to add or any question.
Yeah. Like, just, I have one quick list. Finance committee, this crazy right now is the average for special allocation. So we're looking on average for special allocation to, promote and get people informed about the availability and accessibility of special allocation. So programs can reach out to us and, ask for fund, but it has been delayed for about 3 or 4 months. So I think we should work on that in next meeting.
And so not just special occasion, but I would say the annual budget process as well.
Well, yeah, I took down that we want to change it or we want to improve the budget request forms for different programs.
No, this is about specifically about student programs, about special allocations and annual budget functions. So they know about it and know that they can request funds from the issue.
And is that the board?
For improving processes going forward, I hope for next year's batch of senators. Pertaining to shared governance, I hope someone looking at it as just a place that you are going to sit through a Zoom session. Take note and just post in the Discord and just announce it. Just a reminder that you guys are representing the students on the shared governance. So one thing is maybe actually paying attention to your shared governance meetings. Attend in person if you can, because that just adds to like your voice. Another thing is also like really not taking it as a time to do homework, but the time to like actually pay attention, see what's going on around campus. All these shared governances are operating based on the discussions that happen within them, and your voice is important to kind of, because you're doing it for the students, but you're not thinking about or paying attention, you're defeating the whole purpose of that senators being the shared governance. Another thing is also like, once you pay attention and kind of like take note of it, actually, is there actual action items that you need to bring back to the Senate or your students? Or in shared governance, they call it constituents, right? There's all these different groups. If there are things that you have to bring back to your constituents, like, make note of that. And that's the time during your shared governance reports, kind of like ask what students will feel. Some examples I can think of for the TASER and for the curriculum. That discuss how to do it. But yeah, just going forward, I think that's like a huge improvement that can be made. Yeah. Chana was saying, if we figure out a way to have a better kind of financial structure, just so that we know how much funds we have to use. Wait a minute. For that, for everything. We're working on that. You're working on that, okay. Because I stayed up until 2 this morning within the financial code and I couldn't find an answer.
Are there any other comments, concerns, anything to add to the current response? So this is the first response.
Everyone see or do you need, when you read the question and respond so far?
This is,
Well, it's
no, this
it's
is,
just not, but yeah, I mean, there's no vote to take. But
it's just to approve that it's being submitted.
like basically go in and submit it.
I. You can move to, I'm going to approve it. Yeah, okay, I guess. Are we moving that? Apparently you don't have to move it.
It's just.
Yeah, it's just a discussion. I just need to complete the form. Once everyone is fine with what we've put in so far, so now, unless someone has more stuff to add, then we just need to submit it on the DASG.
Okay,
I think we can, I think we can.
yeah, this is not supposed to be an action item, so I think.
No, I think, I think, I mean, I don't, I remember saying.
Is everybody good with this form? Yeah, yeah? Okay. That's pretty much. A few more things, for all the incoming senators, thank you for waiting. If I could have, come up alongside me.
Now, Lydia will swear you in, and then you will swear everyone else, and you don't have to do it one at a time, everyone at the same time.
Nope.
Yeah. Otherwise, so.
I, Lydia Long, do hereby solemnly affirm to serve as a senator on the DASG Student Government Senate.
I, Luca Paliska, do hereby solemnly affirm to serve as a senator on the DeAnza Student Government Senate.
And maintain all duties, responsibilities, and eligibility related to the.
And maintain all duties, responsibility, and eligibility related to the position.
I agree to work for the betterment of the DeAnza student government through the efforts of the Senate.
I agree to work for the betterment of the DeAnza student government through the efforts of the Senate.
And to uphold all DSG college district, local, state, and federal acts.
And to uphold all DSG college district, local, state, and federal acts.
Bylaws, codes, guidelines, laws, ordinances, policies, procedures, regulations, etc.
Bylaws, codes, guidelines, laws, ordinances, policies, procedures, rules, regulations, etc.
At all times, including but not limited to the DSG Code of Conduct, FHDA student correspondence.
At all times, including but not limited to the DSG Code of Conduct and FHDA Student Code of Conduct.
Barring unforeseen circumstances, I will serve the entirety of my term.
Barring unforeseen circumstances, I will serve the entirety of my term.
June 12th, 2024 to June 11th, 2025.
June 12th, 2024 to June 11th, 2025.
Furthermore, I will, to the best of my ability, promote and extend the value and mission of DeAnza College.
Furthermore, I will, to the best of my ability, promote and extend the value and mission of DeAnza College.
So all the 24, 25, senators.
All the 2024, 2025 senators that are here, to come up.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck, Eddie. Let's go. Okay. Yeah, so I'm gonna say, let's go, you guys just stay here, and then it's just gonna be, not what I said. Okay, I, Luca Paliska, do hereby solemnly affirm to serve as a senator on the DeAnza Student Government Senate. And then you guys.
All the way.
And maintain all duties, responsibilities, and eligibility relating to the position.
And maintain all duties, responsibilities, and eligibility.
I agree to work for the betterment of DeAnza student government through the efforts of the Senate.
I agree to work for the DeAnza student government through the efforts of the Senate.
And to uphold all DASG, college, district, local, state, and federal acts.
And to uphold all DASG, college, district, local, state, and federal acts.
Bylaws, codes, guidelines, laws, ordinances, policies, procedures, rules, regulations, etc.
Bylaws, codes, guidelines, laws, ordinances, policies, procedures, rules, regulations, etc.
At all times, including but not limited to the DASG Code of Conduct.
At all times, including but not limited to the DASG Code of Conduct.
and FHDA Student Code of Conduct. Barring unforeseen circumstances, I will serve the entirety of my term. June 12th, 2024 to June 11th, 2025. Furthermore, I will, to the best of my ability, promote and extend the values and mission of De Anza College.
Next week.
Oh, guys. This guy adjourned this meeting. No, I don't. Oh, yeah, leave a business item. We're not done. It's not done.
It is nice, right?
Wow. Okay, let's go through this really quickly. Are there any public comments? A detail.
I just want to say some things pertaining to business item 5. I just wanted to say, please do not be disrespectful and like interrupt people just because they have a differing opinion than yours. DASG is supposed to be a safe space for everyone to voice their opinions. Thank you.
Are there any other advisor announcements?
No, but I would like to.
Oh, are there any other public comments? Matt?
I have a question with country first, so.
Jack?
I just want to say to Dennis, I really appreciate all the advice and like the, I guess, insight that you gave to us during business item number 5. But I do also want to say that like we are all competent, and I believe that if you enabled us to all just discuss with one another, and all the ideas that you conveyed have been rightly conveyed by the presenters up there, and I really do appreciate everything that you told us, but I just want to say that.
Are there any other public, Aaron?
Yeah, thank you, Dennis, so much for realizing when we're incompetent, to see your point. And making sure that we are on track. So thank you so much for that. We're all coming.
My apologies.
No, wait, no, I mean, thank you seeing when we're incompetent.
I don't care if you're incompetent, you're all, and you're learning, and we all are too, and my apologies, you're not making you feel, don't make you feel incompetent, you're not.
That's not what you're saying.
Any other public comments?
Thank you.
Okay.
For the incoming senator who joined the CSOC conference, so our stipulation say that after attending the event, you need to like give us some testimony of what you learned from the event, the conference. So I hope you guys can take away from the conference and prove that we put for you guys did the right decision. That's good.
And that's true for any conferences. All students have to come back and present, so.
Are there any other public comments? Ben?
Fine.
Are there any other public comments?
Wait, was cool.
Was that a comment?
Yeah.
He said 5. He said
Oh,
You said about.
Yeah, just quickly want to say a really big thank you to the DASG advisors for supporting us throughout the entirety of this past year. And I'm also speaking for like everyone here that's transferring and who's going to be incoming for next year. You've been a really big support for us, and those of us transferring, we really appreciate working with you over the past year. So thank you.
Any other public?
Yeah, mine is super quick. I know she hasn't been chairing for like the past few meetings, but I just wanted to do a special shout out for Lydia because she's been in DHD for like a hell of a long time, like since last year and before last year. So, yeah, and I think she's done like a really good job, and there was, people who underestimated her, and look at her now, so just a round of applause.
Are there any other public comments? Are there any advisor announcements?
Yeah, just very quickly, so some of you were not able to attend last Wednesday, so Anish, where are you? And then, oh my goodness, and I believe Caitlin's not here, is that correct? All right. And the lavender grad is actually happening upstairs, so I know before the senators has to leave. And I'll be attending there too. So thank you all for a wonderful year, and please stay in touch for those of you that will be leaving us. Don't be strangers, and we're looking forward to the new group coming in next fall.
Bye-bye. Are there any other advisory announcements?
Oh, just thank you to the current Senate, of course, those incoming Senate as well, for just all of your hard work. I can tell you all are so incredibly passionate, such true leaders, and are gonna do amazing things, and you all really inspire me as well. And, that's all.
Any other advisor announcements?
Yeah, thank you everyone, for this year and for all of you that have, elected to join for next year. You've all done hard work and we look forward to working with you people, and we wish all the current people that are transferring or graduating good luck. With all your endeavors, and if you ever need anything, or, anyone has anything, for us, we're here to help you learn, but also learn from you. So feel free to come see us.
Are there any other advisor announcements? Any advisor announcements via Zoom? Thank you all for bearing with me for the final Senate meeting of the 2023-2024 academic year. I join this meeting at 6:35 p.m.
Wait, hey, this is not a public comment, but before everybody leaves, the current senators, the prospective senators and I made a video for you guys, so if you guys are free, it's like a 5-minute video, so please stay and watch it, if you guys are free.
Okay.